Welcome back to Travolting. Hosted by Jeff Sweeney and Stuart Elmore. Covering Killing Season. With special guest, Brian Delisi. Enjoy the episode.
We're recording.
Stuart, I have no notes on this. Good luck. Hit the record button. Hit the record button.
It's the record button.
Stuart, have you given up on notes fully at this point?
I have. I also give it up on 1 second every day.
Oh.
I do. So for folks at home, I actually in New Year I wanted to make a 1 second every day video, but I'm too lazy. I keep forgetting to do it.
Too busy.
Yeah.
What was the movie that broke you on taking notes? What was the last one you did?
Was
it Old Dogs?
You know, it might have been Old Dogs because we can say it now that Old Dogs we recorded way long ago before we did all the other ones too.
We recorded Old Dogs and then spent the rest. Then recorded like 6 movies before Old Dogs.
yeah. And I think Old Dogs is the last one I ever thought about taking notes on because it was Robin Williams.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, at this point, especially from Paris with Love, how do you
take notes?
Take notes.
I took a whole page. See, look at that.
From Paris with Love?
Yeah, right here. I took a whole page of notes on this movie too.
There's no way to follow that movie.
That's exactly my point.
Yeah.
All my notes are I have no idea what's happening.
Also, Jeff, we have another person in the room here.
Yes.
Should we introduce our good friend, Brian Delisi?
Hello.
I like it when the guests speak before we introduce them, just to leave the audience in suspense.
I was trying very hard not to do that. I'll say I keep laughing away from the mic until you said my name.
Yeah. I can't believe it's your first episode, Brian.
I am so excited. I am a big fan, and I'm so glad I get to review such a great movie.
This movie kills.
It was right around the time I think we were recording we were in the early 2000s at this point.
Yeah.
And Brian just started listening to the show and he's like, I'm really enjoying this. I want to be on an episode. I'm like, here's what we got left.
Yeah, it was pretty dire.
And he's like, Killing Season, I'll take that one. So here we are.
Oh yeah, it looked exciting. It looked exciting.
It looked exciting. I don't know if it ends up looking exciting, but
I will say you were talking about notes. I did take notes, and then I realized that it was the same 4 notes over and over, and so I didn't bring my notebook.
What were the same 4 notes?
Oh, just reverse. Oh no, reverse.
Put it in reverse. Oh God. What I mean, we're at the stage now, Jeff, where what is the context?
I actually have a big bit of context for this movie.
Oh my
I'm
God.
very ready.
Yeah. So this movie, this movie.
Also, thank you for listening to our last episode.
Oh yeah, thank you for listening to our last episode on Savages.
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 An episode we've definitely recorded
Yes,
already.
we've already done that.
Yeah.
Okay. Our episode on Savages. So this movie, directed by Mark Steven Johnson, who I can only assume is a sentient program that just spits out movies. Here's his lineup. His most recent movie is called Love Guaranteed.
Okay.
He's also directed classics such as Killing Season, Finding Steve McQueen, When in Rome, Ghost Rider, Daredevil, and Simon Birch. I've only heard of 3 of those movies.
Wait, the Nicolas Cage?
Yeah, the Nicolas Cage
masterpiece
Ghost Rider.
And the Ben Affleck
Ghost
masterpiece Daredevil?
Yes. He is the director of both of those motion pictures. He also wrote the Michael Keaton Jack Frost movie.
A masterpiece, and I will see no argument.
For the listener home, I zoomed in on the snowman's face.
On the Mike Myers snowman face?
Yeah. Get out, Miss... Oh, yeah. Okay. So he directed this movie.
Son, I am a snowman.
He was not originally slated to direct this movie.
Who was?
This was originally a John McTiernan project.
Oh,
who
yeah.
we have covered on this show.
We have.
And the reason he did not direct this movie is because he was in prison. he was not only in director jail, he was in real jail. And so he could not direct this movie.
Wow.
Originally it was called Shrapnel, and it was set in the 70s. And it was not going to star John Travolta and Robert De Niro. It was going to star John Travolta and Nicolas Cage.
Oh, we were robbed. we were robbed.
Going to be a follow-up to, like, not a sequel to Face Off, but like a reteaming of them.
Oh, man.
Do you think the roles would have been the same?
I am
Travolta would have played the Bosnian guy?
So it's supposed to be set in the 70s. And I honestly have no idea.
Yeah.
Like if
The
it's about
wars?
Vietnam, quite clearly John Travolta's not playing a Vietnamese man. And if it's about the Cold War, like
Could be a Russian.
like he could be like I don't know exactly what war this original version Shrapnel was going to be.
Do you think it's like World War II and they're just old Nazis?
I mean, but they're not old enough for that.
Right. They'd have
Yeah.
to be like in their 70s.
Yeah.
Which De Niro's like, how old when this movie came out?
He's in his 60s.
Yeah. He's definitely older
He's like
than
late
Travolta.
60s when he does
Yeah,
this.
because Travolta's late 50s.
Yeah, like 50s when he does this.
Yeah.
So, you know, we were robbed, as Brian said, because this could have been the DTV Action King reunion we needed. Instead, we get Robert De Niro, therefore a paycheck,
Yeah.
Right.
and John Travolta, who is maybe giving a little too much.
Oh, he was all in.
He was all in on this one. I think he saw something in the script
yeah,
that no one else saw.
That's what I'll say to people who question why we're doing this show at this point. This is exactly the reason why I wanted to do this show from the very beginning.
Yeah.
Is because you go through all these movies, these classics, these bombs, whatever. You get to this era where like a lot of actors check out, just like do direct-to-video action movies for the paycheck.
Willis.
Yeah, like Bruce, you know, your Bruce Willis and whatnot. And Travolta is doing that. But let it not be said, he's not putting 110% into all these things. Are the performances good?
No.
Maybe not.
But he's putting all in. He's shaving his head. He's doing the accents.
Yeah. And
The
like,
accents.
he really believes in this character,
He's
too.
really believing in these characters that he's playing. Like your Killing Seasons, your Forgers, your Gaudis. Like, he's like
Fanatics.
He thinks these are going to be classics, and he's going all in on them.
You know, in some sort of sense, I kind of respect that a little bit because, I mean, we all work on movies, and you know, I feel like in our crew mind sense, it's always like this movie is not going to go anywhere. Like I'm here for a paycheck. I'm a crew person, and in cast, it's always like this needs to be like my pickup role.
Right.
And I suppose it's like no one ever knows what's going to be a classic until it becomes a classic. I mean, unless you're working on Star Wars or Marvel, which even then, like Marvel, it's not always a guarantee.
Yeah.
Eternals.
Yeah.
And so,
Brian liked
ooh,
Eternals.
shit.
I did really like Eternals.
Well,
We'll get there.
I'm not going to judge you.
We'll litigate Eternals when we've gotten about an hour into this movie. I have nothing else to say.
Yeah. But I respect that because it's
Yeah.
like you do want to treat every single movie like it's going to be your comeback. Because otherwise, if you don't treat it like it isn't, then it definitely won't
Yeah.
be.
Because like a movie that faced that similar mindset is John Wick,
Yeah.
Sure.
which is not on a basic surface level.
On
It's a movie
paper.
directed by two stunt guys who've never directed before, starring Keanu Reeves at a kind of low point in his career. And it's, you know, just an action movie where he fights Russians. On the face level, that seems like, you know, your Killing Seasons, your Forge, like your shitty direct-to-video action movie.
Sure.
But it became a classic. It revitalized Keanu's career, made David Leitch and Chad Stahelski big names in the directing business.
Yeah.
And so what you're saying, like, they're all people put their all into these. There are gems that come out of this.
Yeah.
And also John Wick was not direct to video, but you know, same basic idea.
Yeah.
You're right. Right.
However, I think Travolta might be the only person putting 110% into this. And
Yeah.
and his 110% is shooting in the wrong direction.
Right.
That part of the movie where like they fire an arrow and it like misses, that's Travolta trying to in this movie. He's like, I'm really just going for it, and the arrow like swings off, and it lands in a ham, and
to
he
that
goes
point,
full ham.
it's also the confidence in which the character thinks he has perfect aim, and he clearly doesn't in this movie because he misses multiple times. But he has a line that says, "I could have killed you already." I'm like, no, you couldn't have. You have terrible aim. That's Travolta's confidence. It's like, I could have been an A-list actor if I wanted to. You sure about that?
I can bring my career back anytime if I want to.
Are we about to do this the entire podcast? Just
should I have done the intro like this?
I think you might have, but you missed the opportunity. I already recorded it. So.
Yeah. Boris and Natasha.
Oh no, Brian, have you listened to Boris and Natasha episode?
No.
Makes me want to weep.
Mr. and Mrs. Obeith. So Brian, in the motion picture Boris and Natasha,
It's got to explain a bit.
a movie we covered for an hour and a half. Okay. Which John Travolta appears for 3 seconds. They open a door. He says hello, or no, he says, "Is Natasha here?" And they slam the door on him. And that's his whole role in the movie. What are you doing?
I'm just looking at the mic settings.
Okay.
Just keep talking.
Okay. So in the middle of this movie, Boris and Natasha have to infiltrate a hotel without being seen.
Mm-hmm.
What the fuck?
Keep talking.
It's just doing a weird thing.
Don't address it. Just keep talking.
I have to address it. And they infiltrate it by dressing in like big fat suits as Scottish people. And they call themselves Mr. and Mrs. Obeith.
Nice.
And they're like, "Hello, we're Mr. and Mrs. Obeith, and it's the best scene ever."
It's a dumb joke.
Sounds
I think
fantastic.
Stuart actually walked out of the room when we recorded that episode.
I was ready to.
Yeah, he got very
I
close.
was ready to walk into the ocean and never come back at that point. Oh, man. I was ready to I was going to make a killing season joke, but the movie's a joke.
The movie is the joke.
The movie is a joke.
It's already been done.
I think so. Is there something to be said context-wise for Travolta and De Niro's career? Because I feel like there's some parallelism going on.
Yeah,
with
they're both at a low point right now.
Yeah.
Travolta, I mean, we've covered, basically the triple
60 movies worth of context.
Yeah, the triple punch of Hairspray kind of making him a joke to the a more conservative element of America.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which kind of seeped into popular culture at the time of he played a woman in a movie.
Right.
Combined with him losing his Disney deal after Old Dogs.
Yeah.
Combined with, the runoff of Battlefield Earth 10 years later.
Well, and also being labeled as the heavy and taking a Pelham 1, 2, 3.
Being labeled as the heavy and taking of Pelham.
Which, to Cole's point, which this episode came out 3 weeks ago, taking a Pelham. Not a bad movie.
Yep.
And I agree with Cole at the end of that episode. But I think it's something to agree on that movie did label him as the new bad guy.
Yeah, the new heavy.
Yeah.
Sure.
So, hence his role in this movie.
That movie is about, that's not about, but it's an element of that movie that he's usurped as he's killed by, when you're an A-list star and you play a heavy in a movie and you get killed by a rising star, that can a lot of times be the end. And not that Denzel's a rising star, he's well established at the time.
Yeah.
But him getting labeled as the heavy and then jumping right into From Paris with Love, which made him a joke, the small role in Savages, he's well out of the range of A-list at this point.
Yeah, for sure. And what about De Niro, though?
Let me look up what De Niro's most recent film had been at this time.
Yeah, because, I know, this is 2000s De Niro, which that decade was not kind to him.
So he had fully jumped into paycheck movies at this point.
Yeah.
In the early 2000s, he's kind of coasting on Meet the Parents, The Score, which are not his bread and butter, but they're movies where he's he's a character in them.
Excuse you, The Adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle, where he plays fearless leader.
Yes.
Show some respect.
But right around the end of the 2000s, he makes the shift into paycheck action movies.
Mm-hmm.
Machete. Can we talk about Righteous Kill for a second?
Righteous Kill.
Okay. So, Robert De Niro and Al Pacino.
Yeah, okay.
Legends.
Yes.
They've only done 4 movies together. Godfather Part 2.
Great movie.
Heat.
Also a good movie.
The Irishman.
I liked it okay.
3 movies that are inarguably classics in some way or another.
Yep.
They also did a 4th movie.
Called Righteous Kill.
A low-budget action movie called Righteous Kill with this poster.
It looks like a winner.
Is that really their only collaborations?
Yeah, they've only done those 4 movies together.
That's wild.
And I just love that it's 3 huge genre-defying masterpieces,
Yeah.
and then they did a shitty direct-to-video action movie together.
But yeah, I think it is something to be said that from 2010 onward, it is just like low ball.
Yeah,
know?
and so he's in the range of these guys at this point. You know, your Bruce Willis's, your Nick Cage's, your Travolta's, where it's these roles where it's not a lot's expected of you. You get a decent enough paycheck, and you get to go home early.
I mean, the first
usually.
15 minutes, he doesn't have any lines.
Yeah, he's just like walking around.
Talk
his
about
house.
an easy paycheck.
Just stands there looking pretty.
And movies like this are always shot very quickly.
Mhm.
Um,
Oh God, yeah.
very.
You can tell.
Yeah, Brian you've had experiences.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Movies like this are shot very quickly, and the actors get the majority of the budget.
Right.
It's the Bruce Willis syndrome. I've heard is that he does $1 million a day is his deal. Bruce Willis will work for $1 million a day, and when he gets to set, he'll go to the director and ask what the first shot is and what lens are we shooting it on.
Okay.
And if the director can't answer, Bruce Willis says, "You're not putting any effort into this. I'm not going to put any effort into you." And just stands there and says his lines and goes home with his $1 million.
Nice.
So that's kind of the style of filmmaking that these guys are walking
Yes.
into with a movie like this. Killing season.
Killing it.
Yeah,
It is the season
'tis the season to
to
kill.
kill it. To kill
Oh
it.
yeah.
And then Travolta pops off, though. Just
Yes.
saying.
We got to talk about it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we'll talk about
We
it.
got to talk about his hair too, but that's
Whoo, boy, he brings up the H word.
or the absence of. We'll talk about it later.
Oh God. Is it time to go to plot mode?
Yeah, let's jump right into the movie.
Let's go to
Great.
plot mode.
Brian, I want to know quickly, what was
Yes.
it when you looked at the list of movies I sent you?
Yes.
What was it about killing season that made you go, I'll talk about that one.
Well, it was the word killing.
Like, at least this will be exciting.
I was like, if I'm gonna have to watch, bottom of the barrel Travolta movies, I'll take one where he's, punching things. And that is what I got. So I was pretty happy with my selection. I'm not gonna lie.
There are parts of this movie where he turns into like Michael Myers. And
Yeah,
it's
I
so
know.
funny. He's like teleporting around in space. He's like, "I am here to shoot you. If I wanted to, I could hit."
It's like clearly not.
I think we're all at this point subconsciously avoiding talking about the very beginning of this movie because we all know what we're gonna have to address.
Yeah. So, well, here's the thing. Here's the thing I'm really actually nervous about talking about this movie. So we're recording this on Sunday, February 27th.
Yes, of 2022.
As of right now, Ukraine is being invaded by Russia,
Yes.
and they're currently still holding capital city Kiev.
Yeah.
I don't know what will happen in
the 3 weeks when
in
this
the 3
episode
weeks when
comes
this
out.
episode comes out. I mean, to be earnest, hopes and thoughts for the
Yeah.
people of Ukraine, and
Yep.
hoping that something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Our like 60 viewer listenership, we support the Ukrainian
Yeah.
people and their country in this time. That is, what do you say? This movie starts off with the exact same thing happening.
Yeah, it does.
We have to address it somehow.
Yeah. So
Yes.
this movie, in 3 weeks, whatever. If the outcome has already happened,
Yeah.
or whether, if it's still in progress, just hopes and thoughts to the people of Ukraine on that end. But yeah, this movie starts off in Bosnia.
This movie starts off with another Eastern European invasion.
Yes.
And it says, in 1992, the Serbian army invaded neighboring Bosnia, starting a war marked by large-scale massacre in the name of ethnic cleansing. More than 200,000 people died in the genocide, most since World War II. In 1995, American military forces and their NATO allies finally intervened, launching Operation Deliberate Force. Which, the second I saw that, I said, this sounds eerily familiar.
Yes.
This is oddly topical. Oh, no. And then the movie starts.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we basically get like a low-rent Michael Bay aesthetic retelling of the... Like, it looks like
World
someone
War
tried...
II, Vietnam-esque, flashy, blurry
Yeah, it's
shots.
like all orange.
All orange. Yes.
And
That's
it's
important later.
Underlit.
And we're picking up with-
lots of smoke.
We're picking up with American soldiers going into Bosnia and fighting the Serbian invasion.
Yeah.
Yep.
They're liberating death camps where they're holding the Bosnian Muslims.
Yeah.
and young Robert De Niro, who we don't see his face, he's always in shadow. I guess in part to obscure who he is, but also probably because they couldn't get a young Robert De Niro lookalike.
And this was before The Irishman came out, where they had the technology to de-age his
The thing
face.
is, they do it in one shot of this movie. Did you notice that at the end?
Yeah,
He's
yeah,
like looking real smooth.
Well, but it's obscured.
He's
very
looking
well.
real smooth.
There's like shadows across
smokes and
half,
mirrors going on.
half his face.
It feels like it looks like a rubber mask almost.
It looks like a Paul Walker recreation.
Yeah.
But yeah, they liberated Death Camp, but they find train cars with
with
rotting
bodies in them.
And so
they take the Serbian death squad who was running the camp, the Scorpions.
Yeah.
This is all stuff that actually happens in this movie, folks.
Yeah.
And I presume happened in real life. But they take the Scorpions out back and put them in a line on the ground, and the American soldiers take turns executing them one at a time.
Yeah.
We get to the end. We get
a young soldier
pointing his gun at a young Scorpion who turns his head, and it's John Travolta.
Barely see it, but it is him.
Okay. I want to talk about this.
Yes.
Did you guys notice that's a green screen shot?
Yes.
I did not.
There's a lot of green screen shots in this movie.
So a lot of the stuff in Bosnia at the beginning, like it looks like they just shot it. I don't presume they didn't actually go to Bosnia for it. They just probably shot it somewhere in.
There is a foreign film crew credited at the end.
I think they did the unit in Russia for that like opening and ending scene.
Probably, yeah.
I'm not sure if they shot this opening stuff in Bosnia.
I am sure not.
But wherever they shot it, Travolta and De Niro were not there. Because it's all looks like it's done in camera until he turns around. You can tell it's Travolta. And it's so green screeny.
Yeah.
It's hilarious.
There's a lot of that even in the modern day stuff.
Yeah.
There's one scene, it's like the end of the fight scene when they decide to become best friends. Spoiler alert. But like they're sitting on the cliffside, and it's where they Robert De Niro's about to execute him, spoiling the end of the movie, but and it cuts to this wide shot, and it's like them on the cliff and like the landscape ahead. It's so green screen. And I'm like, oh guys.
It's literally just a picture that they put behind
it's very
them.
clearly
it's
like
so funny.
It's like the back lot yard of a studio or something. Like California, like they got like trees and like pine wood and some rocks, and they said, oh yeah, this is where's the fuck is supposed to take place? Like Tennessee, Colorado, some shit. I don't know where he lives.
Appalachia, according to IMDb.
Okay.
Like somewhere in Kentucky, Tennessee.
Yeah.
At points in this, De Niro's doing an accent, but then at other points he isn't. It's either he gave up halfway through because he's like, this movie's not doing anything. I'm not going to put any bother into the accent. Or halfway through he decided, I'm having fun. I'm going to do an accent.
Or maybe it's like Travolta showed up on set and he kept the Russian accent off camera. And De Niro's like, I'm not going to be showed up by this fucking chump who did Battlefield Earth. So he starts doing an accent, and then on day 15, he's just like, fuck, I don't care.
Well, I would like to say something about the accents in this movie. So I watch movies at home with subtitles on because I'm a psychopath. And there are a number of lines in this movie that the only subtitle says non-English speech. And there are a number of times that Travolta talks and it says inaudible.
Yep.
So that,
like, is he really speaking like Serbian?
No, he is not.
He's like,
it is absolute.
He's probably
gibberish.
just like, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's nothing.
Shevetsky vodka.
A lot of non-English speech in this movie.
Yeah. So, yeah. So then after, he turns his head, then gunshot noise, cut to black.
Present day Belgrade, Russia.
Yeah.
We're in a bar.
Yes.
And in walks old man old present day Travolta for 2013.
Yes.
Jeff, should I just do it now?
Yes. This is the
you
time.
should do it now.
This is
you
the
should
time.
do it now because we get quite a look at it.
Yes.
Cue the hair raking music. Welcome to the hair raking. Okay.
Look how they massacred
my boy. So, you know how we said like, oh God.
I have the hair ranking.
You know how we said that like Paris with Love is the only one where he goes bald in it for fun, but then grows his hair back. So like Is he
He
like?
did not grow back.
He did
Is
not-
the thing we're learning. Is he just stayed bald and put wigs on?
Yeah, and this is clearly one of those times where he definitely has no hair. So yeah, it's like shaved, buzz cut, but even like very buzzed.
Yeah.
But it continues down the sideburns into a full beard.
But
Not just a regular beard.
like an Abe Lincoln
it's a,
beard.
It's a chin strap beard.
It looks like he's wearing a helmet.
Yeah.
It
all
does
the
look like
time.
he's wearing a helmet.
It's a chin strap beard with no mustache. Nothing on the cheeks really either. It's all jawline. It's
yeah.
all jaw, neck, and chin. And
It's very powerful. Very strong.
I will say, like, you know, I think for the character, like it gave some sort of like memo of who he was. Like, this is a guy who like clearly who is foreign, I guess. I don't know.
It makes him look a little more Eastern European, whatever that means.
Yeah.
a little bit.
What does it do anything for his looks? Absolutely not. If anything, it makes him look pretty silly in the entire movie.
It's not attractive.
So
We do got to talk about the actual lack of hair.
yeah,
Because Becca came out when I was watching this, and she looks at it and she's like, "That's not real.
no, it's not.
It looks like tar, like or
Painted
it's like it looks like someone took like road tar and like painted it onto his head.
Yes, it does.
It's wet. It looks moist at all times. It's very strange.
It is very strange. So Jeff, can I see the hair ranking from your phone?
There you go.
Oh Lord.
Remember when we started this and there were like 3 names on this list, and we're like, "Oh, we'll drop this bit soon."
I think it's got to go. Oh boy, it's gonna go low. It's gonna go below From Paris with Love.
above both.
It's going. Listen, guys,
We had to rank the fur.
it's going below the bald head in From Paris with Love. It's worse than bald. It's worse than bald, and the facial hair does nothing because it's a very weird chin strap.
Can I read our bottom 10?
Yes, please.
Yes.
From Paris with Love, Killing Season, Bolt, Our Friend Martin, Magnificent Desolation, Walking on the Moon 3D,
There is no hair in that movie.
The Devil's Reign, The Experts, Battlefield Earth, I Think You Might Like It, Orientation, a Scientology short film.
Why is orientation at the bottom?
Because it was Scientology. I think you just wanted to give anything in that movie the lowest possible.
Yeah, that's probably what it was. I mean, it's not. Experts isn't even the lowest one anymore.
No,
That's crazy to think that something's below the Experts.
it's Battlefield Earth. I think you might like it in Orientation.
Nope, I gotta change it.
What?
Put Experts back on the bottom. Put Experts back on the bottom. We're gonna bump up all those other movies, and Experts is going on the bottom. I'm sorry. Once you said Experts and the list is done. Oh, he's continuing. There's more, and I'm like, no, those aren't worse than
The Experts is now once again the lowest.
Have you seen the hair in the Experts?
I have not.
Please
enlighten me.
Let me pull this up.
This was a war crime.
This
in
is-
Stuart's mind.
This is worse than the genocide of Bosnia.
I got it.
Oh no!
Yeah.
It's like a mullet.
Wow.
a mullet fondue.
Yeah, I mean,
It's really bad. I don't know who said yes to that, but that is terrible.
yeah, he's gonna go order some Greek yogurt and have a nice brunch after that. Wow,
It's rough.
It's really bad.
it's not great.
So yeah, we see Travolta walk in this bar. That's the end of the hair ranking, by the way. We see Travolta go in this bar. He talks to a contact, who would later go on to win the Oscar for. I'm bullshitting. No, this is a no-name background who got paid, who got bumped up because he said
This
a
is
line.
also the only scene in this movie that has background. The rest of the movie,
Yeah, you're right.
There are exclusively
Oh
4
my
actors in the rest of
gosh.
this movie,
Wow,
and a baby.
and a baby.
and yeah, and a child.
But
my
you're
God.
right.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you can totally tell, like, they shot this scene and then the scene where he drinks to the bartender at the end of the movie,
Back
like,
to back.
back to back.
They're wearing like the same, like they are the exact same people.
Yeah.
Travolta has a
in the same
mustache
place.
now.
Yeah.
He does have a mustache.
He has a mustache at the end
So,
of the movie, and that's it.
He has a glue-on beard. At
Yeah.
the
So
end.
what you're saying is the schedule for the day was they shot the last scene of the movie because they had to put the mustache on the beginning of the day, and then they broke for lunch, And then during lunch, Travolta got the mustache taken off, and then the second half of the day was them filming the first scene
Yeah,
of the
this was
day.
the second unit that they sent to Russia.
Yeah, exactly. All 6 of them that they sent
all
over
6
there.
of them.
Yeah. God
These aren't
damn,
even
yeah,
background. These are filmed in a real bar and hope people notice
Yeah,
it wasn't
right.
Travolta.
Wow. So, but yeah, he talks to the contact and he gets a packet.
And he's like, Vodovinsky. Vodovinsky, American.
and Travolta talks to he's speaking not really Russian,
Yeah.
Non-English speech.
Non-English
As the
speech.
subtitles.
but he has a
say.
very thick Russian accent. But okay, let's go to the accent list. the accent,
The accent
rank.
corner.
Yes, it was very.
How-
It was very good.
You
His
liked
accent.
it?
No, it's slightly better than mine, which is
Which is not.
exactly what you're hearing. It's not
Travolta's
good.
accent is like an American accent trying to do a Russian accent
Right.
But
like
he's
this.
like trying to do a Serbian accent.
I don't know what it is.
But he's just doing Serb. He's like doing Boris and like. Here's the thing. I am going to take you out. This is my war.
The
that
calf
I
muscle is a very strong muscle. It will hold you up for hours. Your
should be
child's baptism. The child has your eyes. I'm probably doing better than Travolta
Yes.
is.
Yeah,
to
no.
be honest.
If I close my eyes, I feel like I'm watching the movie.
Yeah, honestly.
But he talks to this contact, and the contact slides him like 4 dossiers, and there's pictures of Americans
Yes.
with like information about where they live.
Yeah.
And Trev's like, Vodovinsky.
It's like, what are you going to do? Hunting.
I'm going hunting.
He gets very excited and he slaps the table and he says, "I've been waiting for this for so long." I liked that a lot.
He's been waiting for 20 years.
For 20 years.
I mean, and then this guy builds an arc reactor suit.
Yeah.
And then he
The opening credits start.
his father dies. He creates an arc reactor. He creates his like whip suit, and then he ambushes Tony Stark.
Have you ever read any Mickey Rourke interviews about Iron Man 2? They're
No.
they're one of my favorite things.
What?
Because like he's like, the thing about that, because like he had just had a comeback in his career. He was like in the dumps, and like he has his comeback.
The
with,
wrestler
with
was
the wrestler
was before, right?
Yeah, he has his comeback with the wrestler, and like Iron Man 2 is supposed to be his victory lap movie,
Uh-huh.
and he's like, I traveled to Russia. I lived among the people for a month. I worked on my accent. He like said he talked about all this work he put into it, and then you watch the fucking movie, and he's just like, I want my bird. I want my bird.
I want my bud.
And he's like, they cut all my good shit out of the movie. And I'm like, what good shit were they having you do? It's about how like he put months of work into that supposed to be his victory lap, and the whole movie's him sitting in a room tinkering on a computer going, I want my bird.
I want my bud. It's not my bud. Drawn better.
You lose, Tony.
Oh,
It's so
God.
funny to me.
Good God. And then it cuts to
The opening credits.
De Niro.
Well, De Niro in the over the opening credits.
Yeah.
They play over him walking amongst the wilderness.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
This is good shit.
Big bird in the sky.
Yeah. That's when I knew this movie was going to be a hoot. Was when De Niro's like standing on a cliff over a river, and he just looks at this bird, and the bird looks back at him.
Oh.
And it's like a 15-second shot of the bird just staring at him. And I'm like,
And him not making a reaction, but just like looking up.
Just
feeling
looking at it.
kinship with the bird.
Yes. No, I did write in my notes, giant chicken has a moment with Robert. And yeah.
And yeah, then it's Little John walking through the forest.
This is basically what happens.
Yeah.
Then, yeah, it's just Robert De Niro walking in the woods.
He's like, I don't know nothing about no woods. He builds like a little hut out of tree branches and whatnot.
He builds a ground blind.
Yeah.
Which is very clearly like, props built like the first version. And it's just like, all right, all you got to do, Robert, is just bend a branch. Then we'll cut and then we'll fly in the real one and you'll be hiding in
I
it.
was like, wow, he built in windows and everything in
Oh
his
my
blind.
gosh.
Glass
Man.
installation. There's a heating and
Yeah,
cooling.
I was like, that's pretty
But no,
dang
he
good.
builds this blind, and then you think he's gonna pull like a rifle out because there's these elk walking around.
Yes, this big
Instead, he
elk.
pulls out a camera,
Like Mad City style.
Yeah.
and we're starting to get, and it starts playing a Johnny Cash song about like,
Yes.
don't bring your guns to town, leave your guns at
The
home.
first of 5 times.
Yeah,
that we will hear
it
this.
Plays it five. It's
It
like
plays
that's the
this
only
song
song
5
they get the copyrights of.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. And then Yeah, they.
But the idea is he's an old soldier. He's put his weapons away, and now he uses his sharpshooting skills for photography. Except we never see his sharpshooting skills in the rest of the movie.
Yes,
it never comes back.
It does clearly establish that he's now a non-violent, peaceful, nature-loving old man
Who definitely does not have any skills anymore whatsoever regarding firearms and bows and arrows.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah.
Very
but yeah,
peace-loving,
he sees like the
gentle.
moose, and he has a sharp pain in his leg, and it disturbs the moose, and then he goes back home.
Yes. The 2 elk.
Yeah.
And then we get what I can best describe as like set up the scene,
Right.
in which he's walking around. They're playing the Johnny Cash song,
Yes.
and the Johnny Cash song is about leaving your guns at home.
Yes.
He's sitting in a chair reading "For Whom the Bell Tolls" by Ernest Hemingway. He looks up above his fireplace and sees literal Chekhov's gun on the wall. I'm like, okay, we're laying it all a little thick with the Johnny Cash song here. And then I look at the book and I'm like, okay, we can reel this one back.
Yeah.
He looks up and we see Chekhov's gun on the wall. I'm like, all right, this is enough. I get it.
Yes. Yes.
I put my guns down years ago, Captain. And it's like, oh no, Sergeant, you gotta bring him up again. It's time to relive the gory days. Ah.
And so
Oh man.
he's doing his thing, and then his phone rings.
Oh, yes.
And he picks it up, and it's his son, played by Milo Ventimiglia in a 1 6-hour shooting day role.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, it's the same bit in Creed.
Oh, I'm gonna talk about that. don't even bring that up. Don't even bring that up. Don't even. We're gonna talk about. We're gonna talk about fucking Creed at the end of this episode.
Okay, I'm
This
gonna give
movie
it.
has-
I have to give it to Jeff for
To
that
a
one.
creepy amount, the exact same ending as Creed 2. But we'll talk about that later.
Just different actors.
No, not even different actors.
Not even.
The same actors. We're gonna talk about that. Okay. So we've established pretty much what's gonna happen in the rest of this movie. Milo Ventimiglia is like, Dad, you gotta come to my son's baptism tomorrow. And De Niro's like, if it's in a church, I don't want anything to do with that.
Right.
He's like, is she gonna be there? And he's like, Dad, you've been divorced for 20 years. Suck it up. And he's like, you're breaking up. And he hangs up.
Good God.
Yes. He's a strange relationship with his family.
Yes, we've established now, he's very sad.
He's
Yes.
very lonely.
He's lonely.
It's in the woods.
Yes.
He's put his guns down.
He's lost his faith.
He takes a medication for the pain in his leg.
He takes Advil.
He takes Advil.
It was Advil. It was just,
This movie keeps
plain
making this
ibuprofen.
deal about like he's got to get his medication, and it's only a jar of like Advil.
It is. It is.
It says aspirin.
Yes, it is. It is standard ibuprofen.
Yes. And so he wakes up the next morning and he gets his Advil out and he drops the pill and it goes down the drain. He's like,
Yes.
fuck. And he slams the mirror.
Yes.
And the mirror slams, cracks right down the middle, cracking
Yes.
him into two.
He's a broken man.
He's a broken man.
I mean, Jake Gyllenhaal, Nightcrawler bit.
Yeah. It's really like, they wanted to have some symbolism.
Yeah.
That,
They
he's
said, what if we had all the symbolism?
like every single,
I'm like, any one of these bits would have been fine.
Right.
All of them together is too much.
I was honestly impressed with the camera fake out. Like it was gone. The camera was like, oh, that's nice little interesting piece of character deduction.
Yeah.
And then after about 10 more,
About 10 more
okay, I
bits.
get it. I know who this character is.
Yeah.
And then it's really strange. It's really strange. After you think you got it, De Niro turns and looks right in the camera. And he says, hey, I'm acclaimed actor Robert De Niro. My character in this movie, Benjamin, he's a broken man. He's a man dealing with loss. He's a man dealing with the crisis of faith.
He put his guns away.
He says, I want you to know that. And then he turns back and the movie resumes. It's very strange. I've never seen that
perfect.
before in a movie.
It's so weird how it comes out of nowhere too. Never does it ever again. John Travolta doesn't get a fourth wall break.
It's
Move.
very strange. I wasn't expecting it. But
No. Is this when he gets in his truck?
So he goes and he
Yes.
gets in his truck. His
Because
legs
he's out of medication.
He's out of Advil.
Yes, he's out of his head.
And he doesn't have any Advil in the car. He's like, oh, fuck. And so he drives down the road.
Also, I mean, besides like two maybe somewhat violent and graphic scenes, why is this movie rated R other than to let them say the F word?
Have you seen those violent graphic scenes, though? There's so much grotesque.
I mean, it's like two.
One of
There's
the
pretty intense. I'm gonna
really
say
only
those
two
two
bits.
scenes are pretty intense.
Yeah.
though.
All right, I guess so. Anyway, But yeah, this is like he's driving down his like driveway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he sees
And his check engine light comes on. He's like, "Ah, fuck!"
and yeah, like I've never seen that happen before. Where your car just like the check engine light comes on and then it breaks down 2 minutes later.
Right. The light is like flashing.
So it's different. It's like hey, spot, dead.
Yeah, literally.
And he's like, "Oh, god damn it!"
All right,
and
plot device.
And so he gets out, and we get this shot where he's standing at the hood of the car.
Yes.
And you don't see anything behind him.
Mm-hmm.
He lifts the hood of the car. There's a man behind him in a green robe. And he says, "Having engine trouble?" And then he turns around and is like, "Oh yeah, I can handle it. Get the fuck out of here, bozo."
Which like that's his private driveway, right?
See, I was ready for the twist that like Travolta had like, you know, sabotaged the vehicle and like had timed this out perfectly.
Yeah.
Right.
Which I think is what it's trying to infer, but they never say that.
It is very unclear.
Yeah.
Well, I imagine like maybe he was heading to his house.
Because Travolta establishes
his
he's like,
door.
I have a lot of experience with English cars.
He does.
I can fix these for you. So I think the inference is that he sabotaged it and then walked back down the road.
I mean,
Travolta's putting a lot of effort into like killing
Becoming
this
his best
guy.
friend.
yes.
Oh, sorry, killing him. I was saying becoming his best
Like if
friend.
Travolta just wanted to kill this guy, he could have done it very early on and very easily.
Oh yeah.
Instead, he's like, "No, I have 7-step plan to make this happen. I shall sabotage his car. I shall walk back down road. I shall walk back up road to make him think I'm walking.
I will see his car break down.
I will fix car. He will invite me home. I
We
shall
will
have
drink.
dinner with him.
We'll drink a lot of.
We will go hunting, and then I will kill him.
And then I will kill him.
But then I will bring him to top of hill and make him talk to God.
yes. Yes.
and
That
then I
is
will
his
threaten
plan.
his family.
Yes. And so Travolta, De Niro like pushes Travolta away.
Yes.
Also, we haven't said these characters' names. I don't know them. Is
Emil
Ben-
is Travolta and Ben is Robert.
Okay, Emil and Ben. Emil.
I only know this because Robert De Niro says it once when they're at the cabin.
He's like,
when
"Hey,
they're
Emil."
drinking. Yes.
And so Travolta fixes his car.
De Niro is not suspicious at all that
Yeah,
there's a random
and De
guy
Niro's
in
like-
the woods
yeah.
on
De
his
Niro's like,
private driveway.
"Thanks, buddy. You know my leg's acting up. I gotta get home." And so he starts driving. And then he turns around. He's like, "It's not safe to drive out here with the rain."
Oh, because
Come."
it starts raining just
Travolta actually calls that
perfect
too
timing.
with his
Wait,
weather
does
weapon.
that imply that they could afford a rain machine?
Or quite possibly it just started raining on set. And they're like, "We gotta roll with this."
That's probably because there are some shots where it's not raining,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and then some shots where it's sprinkling, and then some shots where it's downpouring.
yeah.
So yeah, I don't know what happened there, but yeah. At any rate, yeah, he starts driving his car away, and he looks in the rearview mirror and sees Travolta walking down the driveway, which supposedly would be towards his cabin, right?
That is correct. Yes.
So, but he doesn't react like, oh shit, a stranger's walking towards the cabin. He stops and he's like, you know what? Hop in. It's raining. Yeah,
Just invites this random Serbian guy back to his house. So they go in, and Travolta's like, "I owe you a favor too," and he pulls a bottle of Jaeger,
Yes.
yeah.
and they get drunk.
And they start drinking, and they start sharing life stories because Emil is like, yeah, I was in war in Bosnia, and he's like, oh, Bosnia, I served in Bosnia. It's like, yeah, what side did you serve? Oh, I was. Oh, you were that side. Oh, I was on that side. Oh,
Difficult to know when to leave the war.
yeah.
But the war never leaves you.
Right. And then he talks about the shrapnel in his leg that he doesn't want to get removed. And turns out he has an arc reactor trying to keep the metal from going into his heart.
Yeah.
Somehow this movie can always be linked back to Iron Man
too.
for some odd reason. Robert De Niro has to form a new element to make sure that he's not dying of
Anyone remember
poison.
when Iron Man 2, the crux of the movie is Robert Downey Jr. has to watch videos of his deceased father to steal a map from his office, bring it home, scan it, make a 3D model of the map, and then somehow turn that into an element?
Yeah.
I still to this day have no idea what's happening for that 10-minute segment of the movie.
Well, it's because
Still
they're
taking me
just-
to school.
right.
What?
He's like, I invented a new element using this map. And I'm like, what? I'm like, wait, so the dad made the element,
Yeah.
but couldn't make it.
No.
So he just drew it.
Hey,
Yeah.
Jeff,
And then rather than drawing it, he
Jeff.
made it into a map.
he was limited from the technology of his time. But his greatest invention
Like,
was Tony.
Why didn't the dad just like get a notebook and draw the fucking element?
I mean, this is the same generation.
He could have just drawn the element on a notebook, handed it to Nick Fury, said, "Hey, when Tony's old enough, give this to him."
I mean, Howard Stark, the same guy who, with the help of Hank Pym, can make the Pym particle, but
Yeah.
they can't make a new element?
Yeah. I'm impressed you can draw an element in general. That's,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
in a map,
In a map.
in a 3D map.
That's basically Epcot.
Yes. It would be the equivalent of me taking one of my Disney World park maps, slapping it on a scanner, and being like, "Holy shit, it's palladium!"
So, yeah, Travolta and De Niro are drinking, and they're having a grand old time. And they're sharing like war stories
Yeah.
of some kind, and De Niro talks about being in the war and how he's not quite out of it.
At
And,
this point, we're like 30 minutes into the movie.
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Oh, I thought this was an ad. What's going on here?"
well, like, I'm not gonna lie here, I kind of like this bit.
You kind of like this bit?
I liked it too.
Yeah.
There's actually a lot about this movie that I like.
Two
and
guys
this conversation is
Yeah.
one of
in
them.
a cabin, just sharing
Well,
stories.
it's the
having a
enemy.
good
It's the
time.
enemy mine thing.
Yeah.
This movie's trying to do that and then have a
Yeah.
turn.
Right.
Except I don't think it really goes far enough.
No, it doesn't go far
Right.
enough.
Like
it doesn't finish its point.
Yeah, like these conversations that
Yes.
feel kind of half-assed.
Yeah.
Like I like the concept here of I like the idea of this movie in that it's trying to be like, in a war like that, there were no good sides.
Right.
There were people on both sides committing atrocities.
Yep.
Right.
And it's trying to make that point, but it never succeeds.
It does not go far enough.
Because this whole scene, I'm like, okay, which of these guys? Like, this movie wants me to root for one of these guys. Which does it want me to root for?
Right.
And at times, I'm like, maybe he's the hero, maybe that's the intent. But it just comes off as confusing because there's not enough of a handle on what's
Right.
happening.
Yeah,
here.
yeah. And at this point, as they're going through like shot after shot, and they've been on 7 shots, and Travolta at one point is like, "Well, it's getting late. I should probably get going." And then De Niro's like, "Oh, I got a spare room in here." It's like, "Oh no, you've been very too kind." And then at one point, he drops the book of For Whom the Bell Tolls.
Yeah.
They both go to pick it up, and that's when
It's like,
Whoa,
for
wait.
whom the bell tolls, much like will be for you. What? I said nothing.
well, they both go down to pick it up, and that's when their hands touch.
And every time we touch, I get this feeling. And every time we kiss, I swear I could die. And every time our heart beats fast, I know it could last. Leave you by my side. Okay, that's
That was really good. Thank you.
yeah, I love how we didn't harmonize. Both were saying different lyrics to the song.
I clearly don't know the song. I was going to do "Look into my eyes," and they look into each other's eyes, and De Niro has like, as soon as they touch hands and they make eye contact, and the music settles in. And then, at one point, and then their eye contact breaks as De Niro like winces in his pain. It hurts, and then Travolta like puts his hand on it. He's like, and he just starts rubbing his thigh. And he's like, "You don't need to worry about that anymore, Robert."
It's funny. They start using the real actor names. They drop the accents. Then we never. And the movie goes back to killing. It's a lot of fourth wall breaks. We don't talk about.
But
this
then he
movie.
takes his
It's
hand
wild.
and
It's
he's
wild.
like, "Do you want to be in the spare bedroom?" It's like, "No, I don't think you need Advil anymore." Anyway, so then John Travolta leaves, and then sorry, I don't know what that was, but
I liked it.
I thought that's where the movie was going, but clearly it wasn't.
Yeah.
Or maybe they hooked up that one night, and then Travolta gave him his phone number, and then Ben just never called him
and so
back. And then
Ben-
the rest of the movie is him like, "Why did you not call me, Ben?"
I believe it.
And so Ben De Niro.
Yeah.
Is like, Ben De Niro.
Yes.
Ben De Niro.
Ben De Niro.
Ben De Niro.
Nice.
Ben
De Niro?
It's bending a euro.
Bending his European guys over the cliff and shooting them.
Oh, no! Okay, so, Ben,
Damn! Our hopes and thoughts with Ukraine.
Travolta's just like, hey, you should tomorrow. You should come hunting with me. We will have great hunt.
Hunting the elk.
I will hunt.
Specifically.
And De Niro's like, oh, my leg. I don't know about this.
This is all euphemism, right?
Yeah. Oh, Stuart, the door just opened.
Oh. Who's here?
Look who's walking in.
Who's walking in?
It is me, Emil.
No.
Hello, Emil.
No.
It is me. How are you doing today?
He does this every once in a while. He does.
I love it when Emil comes in.
Hey, Stuart. Have you ever thought about going on a hunt with me?
Are we hunting for?
We are hunting a specific type of prey.
Is this prey? My dick?
Oh! Stuart, you saying that actually blew Emil out of the room. He exploded back and has flown 6 buildings
He's
across.
not the only one who exploded. Oh!
Well, it's definitely not that I could not think of anything to do with that bit that caused me to just immediately abandon it. But
I'm glad that I was able to do that for
yes,
you.
thank you.
So anyway, they go on a hunt.
Yes, they go on a hunt.
It starts
De Niro says no, and then the next morning they're just on the hunt together.
Wait a minute. The night before, so he asked him to go on this hunt, and then he leaves the house.
Yes.
And then it cuts to the next day, and they're on the hunt.
Yes.
Where did he sleep?
In the woods.
Oh, in the woods.
Among my people.
The elk?
Yeah, the elk.
He's Serbian. It's very offensive, Jeff.
But no.
Doesn't know what to do with that
Yeah,
one.
so they go out on this hunt.
Am I outbidding Jeff in this
You're
episode?
outbidding me today.
I'm outbidding you today.
Outbitting me today. Not bidding. Must emphasize.
Well, I don't bit hard.
And so they go out on this hunt, and De Niro climbs to the top of a tree.
Yes.
And they have these little they have these little walkie-talkies that are
Yes.
voice activated. So
Yes.
anytime they talk, they just hear each other.
It's very cool.
These walkie-talkies are seemingly waterproof, indestructible machines.
Yeah. Fun little tidbit in Minnesota, it is illegal to have walkie-talkie communication with another hunter who is
Really?
Oh yes, because it's unfair.
That's
But anyway,
interesting.
I was like,
Unfair to what?
the animals.
What?
It's cheating.
Being human is unfair to the animals.
I'm just walkie-talkies are a step too far.
What?
Because anyway, they have these
about-
magic walkie-talkies.
Guns. Bows.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can use guns, bows, AK-47s,
But walkie-talkies.
nuclear device.
But you talk to somebody about the patterns of the animals
And we're
from
fining
someone
you.
far away? Hell no.
$200 fine.
And so yeah, they have these little walkie-talkies. And De Niro climbs to the top of a tree, and they're just chatting.
Yes.
And De Niro's going to shoot this elk with a bow, and he's like, "I haven't killed anything in 20 years."
Yes.
Also, should be noted the different types of bows that each of them are carrying.
Yes.
De Niro is carrying a crossbow.
Yeah,
De
well, not
Niro
crossbow,
is using a
like a fiberglass bow.
Oh, it's a compound
Yeah.
fiberglass
Yes.
compound bow, whereas Travolta is using like a wooden carved
Compound bow.
compound.
Compound.
Yes. So Travolta's got the compound. Or does De Niro have the compound?
Well, De Niro has the fiberglass
fiberglass,
one.
yeah.
Yes. Travolta has the big wooden one.
Yes.
Travolta's Legolas, and De Niro is
Joe
Hawkeye.
Rogan.
Right. Exactly.
Does Joe Rogan hunt? Is that a thing?
I'm pretty sure that's one of the bits of Joe Rogan podcast is that he hunts elk a lot. With,
What?
with a compound bow.
Okay.
Listeners can comment and let me know if
Yeah.
I'm right.
Okay. So, yeah, they're using
Recurve bow.
A
It's
re-
compound bow. Travolta has a recurve bow.
Oh,
There we go.
Gotcha.
So they have these bows,
Yes.
and De Niro's about to shoot this elk, and he doesn't. He's like, "You just shoot a shot. You can take it."
Yes.
And Travolta's like, "You didn't have You didn't have that hesitation 20 years ago."
Dun, dun,
Ha, ha,
You
ha.
have changed such an fool.
and then bow
Yeah.
goes right into the tree
And De Niro's like, "Ah!" and he falls
falls
from the tree.
and breaks
This
his bow.
old man survives a lot.
Yeah,
He's a
he
tank.
does.
And so De Niro just starts running through the woods. And this is when I wrote in my notes, "This is the juice."
This is what I want.
The hunt.
Yeah.
The
'Cause
killing
this is what I
season
want
has
is
begun.
old guys running around. And just like all these arrows are just coming out of the woodwork. Literally out of the woodwork.
Literally.
And just missing De Niro left and right. Travolta finally emerges like that orc at the end of Fellowship of the Ring. Where he's just, where like he
As
does, he just,
Boromir is killing all the other orcs, and
Yeah.
you just see the other one
and it's
walking
this
in
one guy and he
slow-mo.
walks slow-mo. And
Yes.
he's like, but that's like Travolta in this, is he's walking in slow-mo, just
You got to do the sound design with the bow and
Yeah.
Fellowship though, because not only does he pull the bow back, it's like
you know what's really depressing is I know what the name of that orc is. His name is Lurtz.
Lurtz.
It's spelled Lurtz.
That's pretty sick.
His name is Lurtz.
Lurtz the Lurker.
Lurtz the Urukai.
Yeah, he's an Urukai, not an orc. Show
I
some
also say
respect.
there's no two.
These are not just some from the orcs. These are Urukai. Their armor is thick.
We are gaining on them. The Uruks. I always say
The
that.
Uruks have headed west. They're taking the hobbits to Isengard.
Saruman. I always say there's no two phrases in the English lexicon that'll make me immediately like break out into a smile more than the words Urukai and Optimus Prime. Those are my two favorites. Like if you just go up to me and like, Jeff Urukai, I'm like, fuck yeah.
Oh God.
Because they're like, it's the advanced version of the orcs. What are we gonna call them? Well, we can't call them Orc 2. What about Urukai?
Urukai.
What's that? What you smell? Man flesh. They're gaining our trail.
Meat's back on the menu.
right here.
They would be followed. Tracks lead the way from the battle and into Vanguard Forest.
I mean,
What madness.
and just let them into that accursed place.
Okay,
Stuart,
we're
when are
going to
we-
pause the podcast.
Stuart, when
we're
are
going to pause the podcast and quote Two Towers for the rest of the...
Well, when are we finally going to do our show McKellen season? McKellen season? Get it? McKellen season? Like, it's an Ian McKellen podcast?
So
But
the
also-
arrows are flying towards Robert De Niro. And one actually hits him in the leg,
Yes.
Yeah, and he's like,
Ah.
no.
Through his
I have
calf.
to go through makeup.
which I want to know, which leg did it hit him in? Was it in the shrapnel leg or the non-shrapnel leg?
Shrapnel leg.
It was the shrapnel leg.
Okay, so he's still got one buff-ass
Yes.
leg.
because he uses this wound to pull the shrapnel out later.
That is correct.
Which is the gnarliest shit I've ever seen
Oh,
in a
no,
movie.
different wound.
Oh, is it a different?
It is a
oh,
different
yeah, because
wound.
he.
Because this is the same wound. He gets hit here.
Yes.
And then in the same wound, that's where he puts the rod through
Correct.
it, and they get the
And so
string
he
in.
like limps his way into a blown out brick building.
Yes.
And Travolta follows him in and catches him.
He Michael Myers himself to him.
Yeah.
Yes, he teleports.
Yeah.
And he's like, it is time for us to finally have our confession.
Yes.
And so he throws like a wire.
And that's when John Travolta turns into Ghost Rider. He says, "Look into my eyes.
And so
Your petted stare doesn't work on me. I have no soul to burn."
this scene is very strange because it almost becomes a comedy for a moment.
Yes.
It's like he throws this like wire and he's like, put it through injury. And there's just like, Charles is straight riffing in this scene. Like they're riffing back and forth with each other.
Yeah.
And he's like, all right, I hang you up now. And he just like hangs De Niro with a wire through the wound.
For the calf muscle.
He's like,
Yes.
calf muscle is very strong.
no, it's not. It's not that strong.
Yeah.
You know how many
And
people
De Niro's
tear
like,
their ACLs
as
and their
he's
calf
suspended.
muscles?
This
and-
is the grossest shit I've ever seen. He's like sticking it through the wound. There's blood everywhere. He's like, ah!
He's like, you will confess your sins.
Yeah, and then he's like, you will confess your sins, you know. Do you believe in God, Mr. Walker, or whatever the fuck his name is? And he's like, I never had much faith in that guy. He's like, I know that God exists because I saw evil and I thought there's no way man could be capable of such evil by themselves.
Yeah.
And then De Niro's like, that's really interesting, grabs a knife and cuts himself loose.
Yeah.
And then he runs.
How does he still running?
Well, he runs and he falls into the river.
Yes.
And we get an incomprehensible minute-long sequence of like a camera just being like thrown against.
Oh, classic 2013 GoPro.
Yeah.
It doesn't match anything.
It looks like they shot like.
looks like absolute trash.
It doesn't even look like they attached the GoPro to a thing.
No.
It looks like they threw 4 GoPros in the river and said, "All right, whichever one makes it back is the one we use." Because it's just like spinning around and like it's black screen and then you see a little bit of.
Yeah, it's bad.
Yeah.
It's bad. That's the worst sequence in the movie.
Yeah, it's speaking of Lord of the Rings, it's almost as bad as the one GoPro shot in The Hobbit.
Oh, it is very comparable.
Yeah.
To that shot.
I mean,
I think about that every time there's like a GoPro shot in water.
the best GoPro River Rapids protagonist is drowning in the rapid river sequence is Sassy in Homeward Bound.
Sassy and Homeward Bound.
Come on, am I the only one here?
I mean, there's no
It's
GoPro
been a
in
long
there, right?
time.
But it's like it's a shot of like a prop cat in the water, going, and they just
Yes.
and they add a sound effect because like Homeward Bound, it's like the animals talk, but they don't talk with their mouths. It's
No.
just voiceover.
Yes, it's there.
So it's
Yes.
like you just see a golden retriever and an English bulldog running alongside the river. It's like, Sassy, we're coming after you.
Well, he's
And
like,
it's a wide shot of a cat in a river. And then you cut to a close up of a fake cat and you're like, meow.
I got the GoPro shot from The Hobbit.
Oh my
which is
God.
so obvious.
It's
so funny.
It's so distracting. Look how bad that is.
Oh my
dude.
God.
I
So terrible.
But yeah, that's this whole sequence, except somehow worse.
Yes. Yeah. Well, it's just a lot of that.
Brian, you are a camera person.
I am. I am a camera.
I am curious.
operator,
What
and
would you
I-
describe the vibe of this movie's look as?
Oh, literally.
That's a sidebar.
I think the defining factors that they had absolutely no time to plan anything. And there are shots where characters are like weirdly out of frame. Like that first conversation in the bar, he's like sitting down across his contact, and it's a 50-50 on either side of the table.
Yeah.
And both of them are like half cut off. Like it is a shot of the table with characters on the edges. And I was like, wow. We're starting like this, and it doesn't get better. It doesn't get better. There's dirty masters, and every once in a while a close up. That is the camera work in this movie.
It has a very weird like color to it.
Oh,
Yeah, it does.
so I don't know the significance of the color, but this movie starts with our flashback footage of like a cream orange color. And by the end of the film, it is blue. There is no other color except blue in the third act. It is entirely, fully blue.
the last like fight sequence on the cliffside, it's like they were running out of daylight or some shit.
Yeah, I mean, it's pitch black.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it wasn't shot for night.
No.
It was like they got to that last scene at 4 p.m. and they're like, we gotta go. We're losing
Yeah, they were
the
just
light."
like, just rustle around a little bit. It's dark.
Yeah.
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 So
Yeah, not good is my review of the camera work on this movie.
Love it.
Yeah.
it's a little dire.
yeah.
It's got that weird like fake Michael Bay grime to it
Yeah.
that a lot of
yeah.
like action movies of this era have.
What's so interesting that happens after this movie I did not expect is Robert De Niro gets washed up on shore and he's covered in mud, and you just see John Travolta pop out of the water doing that. The camouflage deactivates, and he walks over, cut to the predator vision, just like.
Well, I was actually
and he looks over into Robert De Niro, who's on the mud. He's like, and he can't see him, and he just looks at the mud on him. It's like camouflage.
Well, I was actually going to say like that does happen. What's really strange to me is that De Niro, like, he falls off, he doesn't fall off the waterfall, but he washes up on shore.
Right.
And then he's just laying there, and he opens his eyes, and a horse is there.
Yes.
And he climbs his way up into the horse, and he rides, and he sees, strange enough, an Urukai army coming toward Helm's Deep. And he's like, oh no. And so this movie made a hard shift.
Comes a Lord of the Rings.
It just becomes the Two Towers, but with De Niro there. And he rides it back to Helm's Deep, and they're like, we were expecting Aragorn, but we'll take you. Horse got the wrong guy on the river, apparently, is what happened.
Yeah. It was a shadow of a thought.
Then I will die as one of them. No. Okay. So he gets back home.
Yes.
He walks back home.
Yes.
And then like a minivan pulls up.
Yes.
And
Oh yeah, his son does show
yeah,
up.
Yeah.
and Milo
Yeah.
Ventimiglia gets out with his wife and his daughter and a
Yes.
bottle of wine.
Yes.
He's like, I guess Dad's not home.
And they're hilariously out of place here.
Yeah.
Like in my
Yes.
notes I wrote, wow, city folk just don't get it. Like
And she's like,
they're
and his wife's
hilariously out
like,
of place.
well, at least we got a 3-hour drive to look forward to get back. Because apparently they went from the baptism to the dad's house because he wants his dad in his son's life.
Yes.
It doesn't happen there.
No.
And then suddenly De Niro just sees on his walkie, he's like, family is important to you. And he looks across the way, and John Travolta's there with the bow pointing right at Milo Ventimiglia.
Ready to kill his
And
son.
Robert De Niro
He's like,
talks him out of
He's
it.
like, you want a war? I'll give you a war. And Travolta's like, oh, yes, it is great.
And it doesn't kill his son.
Yeah,
and
and
they drive away.
And the son drives away. And then Travolta goes down. He picks up the bottle of wine and like starts drinking it.
Oh yeah.
And then De Niro shoots an arrow and it goes.
Oh,
through
because
the...
he built a bow in his
built
time away.
Oh yeah,
he built his own bow.
I forgot. There's that sequence in the cave where like he's doing all
Yeah.
these
Oh,
survival.
that's
He's on his leg.
Yes, he pees on his leg.
To sterilize
he bandages
it.
himself up. He builds a bow. He has a heart-to-heart with an elk outside his cave.
and
Oh,
then
that's
none of
right.
this has any relevance again.
No,
No.
it doesn't. You're right.
The elk is very important. I texted.
You did.
Jeff, yes.
The elk,
But anyway.
the elk is important, but like this whole sequence of him doing survivalist stuff, like
Yes.
he uses the bow once,
Yes,
and then we never see it again.
that is his one. Hey, it worked.
Stuart's breaking out the second Red Bull to the audience at home.
Oh God.
Bodes ill. But Travolta picks up the bottle of wine, and the arrow goes through the bottle, shattering it in great symbolism.
Yes.
The red wine splatters everywhere.
Splashes
Signify
into the ground.
blood. And the arrow goes through Travolta's cheek and out his other cheek.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because this is the first blood
Yeah.
that our guy Robert De Niro has shed
In 20 years.
in 20 years.
And then he comes down, he knocks Travolta out, and Travolta wakes up chained to like a bench in the basement.
It should be said. The rest of the movie, he has like holes in his cheeks.
He's got the
Yes,
Joker.
He has the Joker thing going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he seems very okay with it.
Yes.
yeah,
And he's there, and he looks over, and De Niro's making lemonade.
Yes.
with a lot of salt.
Yeah, he
Oh.
says, "Oh, I'm out of sugar. I'm going to use salt to substitute." He pours the whole thing of salt in.
And
And
it
that
takes
sequence
so
go-
long.
20 minutes. It's a 20-minute sequence.
It's so
it's just
funny.
him standing there like,
Just still going.
as the salt slowly comes
And then
out.
it stops and he shakes it a little bit.
It happens again.
It keeps going.
It's actually 1/4 of the runtime of this movie. is the salt.
And then he keeps shaking it, and then every once, and then 20 minutes later, you think it's over, and he shakes it again, and it keeps going out, and then
Like the
eventually,
Mary Poppins
it-
bag of salt
it's
container.
so-
and then it
much
fades to black, and then you just hear the credits.
Credits roll.
Credits. More
he
credits.
makes this lemon. And he's like, you tried to tell me a lot of stuff from your part of the world. Let me tell you an adage from mine. When life gives you lemons, he doesn't finish it.
He just leaves it there.
I was so mad.
it was very
I'm like, if
unsettling.
any line of any part of this movie to just really go for it. Having Robert De Niro say, "When life gives you lemons, make lemonade," and then pouring that lemonade on his,
Yeah, it
that would have
would've
been
been
so
great.
good. I would have like and like given this movie an extra half star or something. But that didn't happen.
It didn't.
Instead, he just. I mean, here's the thing. Like, I'm not like one to like encourage torture
Yeah.
porn esque methods in movies,
If
but
you're gonna
like,
do it, just do it.
yeah, if you're gonna do anything, don't like go to, rated G mode and be like,
Right.
oh, and he pours the salted lemonade. Ah,
No.
look at how gnarly it is. Ah, I'm like, and he's like, no. I'm like,
I did. This was the scene where I was like, okay, this movie has no idea what it is.
Yeah.
no,
Because I was like, I was down to root for Robert De Niro. Like, clearly,
now
he
we're
had a
just watching
troubled past.
tortured porn.
But now I'm like, he could have just, like called the cops here, tied him up, and then the
like-
movie's over. But he's like, no, I'm gonna waterboard this guy.
The
with
torture
lemonade
scenes in
for a
this
sec.
are so over the top intense compared to the rest of the movie.
Yes.
And it's supposed to be like both sides committed atrocities in war. And the end of the movie is the U.S. getting involved in another war. It's
Right.
The endless cycle of violence and torture. And I'm like, yeah, okay, put that in your movie if you want.
Right,
If you want to
right.
try and make me
Yeah.
think.
The characters have learned no lesson
Yeah.
in this. Yes.
yeah. Travolta escapes.
Yeah, he escapes and he punches De Niro. And,
Yes.
oh, how the turntables. And so De Niro is in the back of his car and
This
Travolta's
is.
driving.
I will
it.
say this is the third or fourth Uno
Switcheroo.
reverse card.
Yeah,
with
switcheroo.
Switcheroo.
Switcheroo of who has the upper hand.
Yeah, we listened to like
Johnny Cash-
Don't bring your guns to town again.
Yeah.
Again.
Only he's
'Cause-
bringing De Niro,
Yeah.
the gun, into
Yeah.
town.
Yes.
And then De
And
Niro.
Travolta's flipping the lyrics and he's like, oh, wait, no, this is later in the movie when he says, like, do bring your guns to hand. Don't leave your guns at home.
Yeah, that's that. Yes.
and
And so they're driving and Travolta's riffing and monologuing.
Yep.
De Niro wakes up and, like, lunges at him. We get the funniest looking car stunt of all time.
yeah.
This, like, Jeep just, like, flies off the cliff and there's, like, 70 cuts. Like, just this guy,
It
like,
just rolls down the hill for so long.
Just in the same way, like I think they just threw those 4 GoPros in the river. It feels like they just threw like 10 GoPros in the car and just let them bang around.
Oh, absolutely.
Like a fucking pinball machine, or it's just like because the car just keeps rolling and they're unharmed by this.
Oh yeah, they're fine.
De Niro gets out and he's running.
Well, De Niro gets out and he sees
she's
the
gun.
rifle.
Yeah.
Yes.
And he gets out and he tries to like crawls towards it. Meanwhile, Travolta gets out. And you're right. Both guys, none of them are really that harmed.
No.
I mean, De Niro crawls, but he can still run later.
Yeah.
Same with Travolta.
Yeah, he's acting like his leg is broken, like his foot's at a weird angle,
Right.
and he's dragging it, and like
it's
can't. But
not.
he's fine later. He
Yeah.
comes around later.
And so he's trying to go for the gun. Meanwhile, Travolta gets out and shoots a flare gun at him.
Yeah, he had a flare gun.
Yeah. And then he grabs the rifle. He aims it at Travolta, pulls the trigger, but it's empty. Because we never saw Travolta load it in the movie.
Travolta had the shells in his pocket the whole
Yeah.
time. Big twist.
So then
Uno reverse.
another Uno reverse. And then Travolta now has the upper hand. He's like leading De Niro somewhere in the woods. And, like
Further
they go. This is the
in the
cliffside thing. I think this is the final cliffside battle, isn't it?
Basically,
Am I
because
missing something?
he points the gun at him and he walks him up the hill. We get
No. De Niro.
they're in a church.
Yeah, they make it to the church.
the
There's
church bit.
There's
Yeah.
one more. There's one
the
more.
church bit.
They get to this church that
Yeah.
De Niro had established having taken a photo of earlier in the movie, like an abandoned church of
Yes.
some sort.
Yes.
And the funniest thing ever happens in this church.
It's my favorite
Bless
part.
me, Father, for
I-
I have sinned.
I laughed so hard. I think Jeff and I are thinking the same part.
Yeah. So
It was actually perfection.
What part are we talking about?
they're in this church.
Yeah.
And Travolta's like, "Come to confess your sins," which is a good movie line in many other movies, and
Yes.
a bad one in this one.
Oh, they really milk it though.
Yeah.
He's like, "Come to confess your sins. Finally, you must confess. I have bared my soul to you. You will bear yours to me." And instead, the sun creeps through a cloud and through a hole in the ceiling, and God's light shines down on Robert De Niro. This bright orange bolt of light, and De Niro looks up, and his face is glowing with it. I kid
It's
you not.
great.
To the honest time, this literally happened.
This is not a bit.
No,
This is
that's actually part of the movie.
And this actually happened. The light shines on him in the middle of this church, and it's very clear that like De Niro has found redemption and he has found his path with God, and he like somehow knocks these boards down and they fall on Travolta,
yep.
and it's this big
Disarming the gun.
yeah.
The gun flies away.
The gun
Yeah.
flies away.
Yes.
This whole bit,
So good.
and Travolta's like, oh, and De Niro tries to run, but then Travolta catches him again anyway,
Yes.
and they walk up to the top of a mountain.
Well, you're missing the part where Travolta
rips-
cuts his leg.
oh
He
yes,
cuts his leg
And he's about to kill him.
and he rips the shrapnel.
But that's when God's light comes through, right?
Yes.
Because
yes.
he rips.
This moment
De Niro,
happens all at the same
De
time.
Niro rips the shrapnel from his leg. He removes his wound.
And stabs
He
Travolta.
and stabs Travolta with it. He finally gets over his he gets over his guilt from the war.
He literally pulls his inner demon out.
Yes, he literally pulls his inner demon out.
Stabs Travolta.
In this church with God's help. He finds God, defeats his inner demons, and stabs Travolta with it.
So good.
How after this they somehow wind up
on the
at the top of the
cliffside.
cliff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
And there's another little fight
Oh
scene.
wait, I did miss one thing.
What?
The one good shot in this movie,
Oh, right. Yeah.
where it's like a wide shot of a hill of a
Yeah,
mountain.
with the moon in the background. Yeah,
and it's
the
like
one good shot.
Why I don't. What do you call it when like the moon's looking big in the frame? I forget. It's like
It's low in the sky. Looks
yeah.
big.
There's something like where the
It's very pretty.
yeah. It's a really nice shot. The moon's
Yep.
right there, and they're just in silhouette. Travolta with the gun pointed at De Niro walking him up to this church.
Yeah, it's very cool.
The one great shot of this movie.
I agree.
Anyway, we're now fast forwarding again after the church. They wind up at the top of this hill, this cliff,
Yep.
and they're fighting.
Mm-hmm.
And De Niro has Travolta. at
It's
gunpoint.
daytime now, by the
It's
way.
daytime.
Yeah.
The whole like day has passed.
Yes.
He has the gun pointed at him. Travolta's like, "Do it! Ah, do it! I want to be dead."
I want to die.
And De Niro does pull the trigger, but at the rocks, and he throws the gun off the cliff.
Oh, great
He
shot
doesn't-
of that gun falling.
He
by the
doesn't
way.
bring his guns to town.
Freaking great.
Very clearly, like green screen like.
Yes. Little
They
element falling.
They took it and just shrunk it in
Yeah,
size.
it's great.
It's good shit.
Yeah. And then they're like, De Niro's like, "You and I are the same guy, you know? We shouldn't be fighting. We should be recovering from our demons together." And like,
And that's when
that's
they touch hands on the cliff.
it's really cute.
Yes.
And we get that what you described as the "oh buddy" green screen shot of them.
Cuts to the wide. It's like a shot looking at them from behind,
Yes.
and it's like from the view in front of them is like the
Picture.
is
Yes.
a picture.
It actually looks like one of
still
those
frame.
old like watercolors.
Yeah,
of, like, a
literally.
landscape.
I was like, wow, nice. They.
But he does tell De Niro does tell a really odd, gross joke.
Yes.
Can we like?
Yes.
The joke is like, it's a guy goes to see
Oh,
a priest, an
yeah.
Italian priest, and he
Yes.
talks about how he was hiding a Jew in his attic during the Holocaust.
Yes.
And the priest's like, that's a great thing to do. Why are you apologizing? And the priest's like, well, she started repaying me with blowjobs. And I'm like, okay, this is a little strange. And the priest is like, well, war makes sinners of us all. And then the guy says, well, should I have told her the war ended? As in, like, he was getting free blowjobs from this Jewish girl who he thought he was protecting. And I'm like,
Travolta also does not laugh.
yeah, and Travolta's like,
And there's
I
a
don't think it
solid moment of silence
Yeah.
between them.
It's like
and I'm just
understand.
like, why was that in the movie? That's like the grossest shit I've ever heard in my life.
But the
That is
moment
a
of silence.
morally reprehensible joke.
It was, yeah, just they just wanted to make sure you weren't rooting for this guy too much.
Yeah.
You were like, this guy did redeem himself, but also
He did commit
He's still
war
a piece
crimes.
of shit.
He
is a
did
war criminal.
He is a war criminal. Exactly.
And isn't there a bit where it cuts back to the flashback with like in Bosnia
Yeah.
where
Yes.
the soldiers holding the gun over
Yeah, and
Yeah,
And
Travolta?
it's
we find-
actually the exact same footage.
Yeah.
Like it is the exact same
Right.
sequence of shots
Yeah.
in the same order.
And then it
as
cuts
the
They
beginning.
just add the one final shot of young
yeah,
De
the
Niro,
reverse.
where he's looking a little smooth.
a little bit smooth, a little Paul Walker-ish, one might
He's
say.
looking a little smooth.
Yeah.
Brian, have you ever seen Smooth Yoda?
I have not seen Smooth Yoda.
Oh no, I don't know if I want to see this. But I think while he's pulling that up, I think that's the end of the movie.
No.
No.
Oh
No.
What oh no, the bar scene at the end.
Okay.
Oh, then even more. Oh yeah, Smooth Yoda looks adorable. Wow, it's a good-looking guy. Doesn't look like a day over
How does this
100.
movie end? I don't remember.
So yeah, Travolta has his thing, and he goes back to the bar, and he buys a drink from the bartender,
Yeah.
and they're like, share a smile, possibly future
Romance
redemption.
thing.
Yeah, and then Robert De Niro.
This is the Creed 2
Yeah.
ending.
So we got to talk about this shit right now.
This is the Creed 2 ending.
So this movie, okay. So to the audience at home,
Yeah.
Creed 2,
Yes.
sequel to Creed, sequel to Rocky Balboa,
Yeah.
sequel to Rocky 5,
Yes.
sequel to Rocky 4,
Thank you, Jeff.
sequel to Rocky 3,
I think the guy
sequel to Rocky 2,
Yes.
which is the sequel to Rocky 1,
Well,
just known as Rocky.
I mean, sure.
And so Creed 2, in that movie, the main conflict of that movie is that Sylvester Stallone, Rocky, is relitigating an old fight, an old beef he has with a tough Eastern European
Yes.
named Ivan Drago.
Yes. Very scary.
Yes.
The machine.
And him having this guilt over having lost a friend in a fight with Drago has excommunicated Rocky from his son, played by Milo Ventimiglia. You will note that is the exact same plot as this movie.
And how does
And the
Creed
end
2
of
end?
this movie is Robert De Niro going to Milo Ventimiglia's house, knocking on the door, Milo Ventimiglia opening the door and being like, hey, Dad, come on in.
Meet
You know what the
your-
end of Creed 2 is?
It's Sylvester Stallone.
Stallone, another old Italian man, going to Milo Ventimiglia's house, knocking on the door, Milo Ventimiglia being like, hey, Dad, you can come on in, and him walking in.
You think the director told him, okay, this is the same thing as you did for Creed 2. Just like, this is your dad this time.
Milo's like, this is something strangely familiar about all this.
How we're shooting this. This is
Yeah.
so weird.
Because it is the exact same sequence of shots.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it is.
It's very
It's the same
strange.
scene.
yeah.
It's so funny.
You can't
I
tell
was like,
me.
wait a second.
They just comped Sylvester Stallone in that. Yep. same thing.
Same ending as
Yeah.
Creed 2.
And
And then we cut to credits.
And then that's credits.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's killing a season.
And that's killing
It's the
season.
movie.
I won't say a complete waste of my time,
No,
but
there were like 4 too many reversals
yes.
for me. Like
Yes.
that, I got it.
Uno
I got it.
For a movie that is already short,
Yes.
it felt long.
It would have been a great 30-minute short. Because they also
Yes.
did not need 30 minutes to set up that our boy was,
And that 30-minute short could
Peaceful,
have
put
just
his
been the
gun down.
conversation in the log cabin.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then the conversation at the end.
Yes.
And maybe one of the torture scenes.
Right.
Because it's pretty okay, honestly.
Yeah. Wait, which one? The calf one or the lemonade one?
Honestly, I like both of them.
Yeah.
The calf one was more effective.
Calf one, it really hit me the most. The lemonade
The
one, I just
lemonade
felt
one was kind of goofy.
Yeah, that's what I was. It's like very goofy.
Honestly, both the torture scenes are kind of goofy.
Yeah, they're
yeah.
straight.
Just the calf one was also just unrealistic.
I was also like, so this whole movie is them taking turns monologuing to each other.
Yeah.
And the first two monologues are humorous.
Right.
I would have loved to have just those two.
Yeah.
Just those two monologues. I think it was pretty solid. Everything after that, I'm like, I get it.
Yes.
I get it.
Yeah.
It just keeps
Yes.
relitigating the same.
It literally is
thing.
the same. Yes, scene, different place.
Yeah.
And so this movie comes out July 12th of 2013.
Yes.
2 days after my birthday, I did go to this on my birthday. It was my party. I had like 10 friends. No, this didn't happen. I was unaware of this movie until recently. Comes out both theaters and home video. It is direct to video. In addition to like random theaters do play it.
Sure.
Makes $1.1 million.
Yeah.
Unlisted budget. Probably because it was funded through like the mob or something.
Probably.
Sure.
That's all I can imagine. A money laundering front of some sort. Comes out. No one talks about it. It gets a 10% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, I think that's pretty fair.
Is this movie better than Staying Alive 1980?
No.
Exactly.
No.
Why the fuck is Staying Alive 0% on Rotten Tomatoes?
Because they were kicking him while he was down.
Yeah. That was comparison to Saturday Night Fever because that's
Yeah.
a sequel.
Oh.
Yeah. Does not
I didn't know
deserve
that
a 0%.
existed.
Yeah, there's a sequel to Saturday Night Fever called Staying Alive. It's one of it's one of Travolta's 3 0% movies. Right? 3?
Yeah, it's that.
Battlefield Earth.
No, not Battlefield Earth. It's that. Look Who's Talking Now. And Gotti.
Gotti's 0%?
Gotti is 0%.
Oh,
We're going to talk about it
that's too bad.
We're gonna talk
That
about
makes me
it. At length.
Oh, I'm very excited.
At
I want to
length.
be there for that one.
Length. Oh, you will.
I only have 128 hours on that SD card.
Length.
Yeah.
All right.
We'll use it.
120 hours?
Yeah. It's 215 gigs.
Yeah.
256 gigs on the SD
Yeah,
card.
so we'll be recording a 220-hour episode.
Okay. All right.
You might need more than 2 Red Bulls for that episode.
Yeah, probably.
10 straight days of Gotti talk.
Yes.
Talking Gotti.
Well, can I
I'm in
introduce
prison.
my theory of the elk?
Yes, I do want to talk about this.
Okay. Because I did have a theory. You know, Phenomenon being my favorite episode. I was like, okay,
Oh,
I'm gonna
thanks, Brian.
have to come up with like at least something.
Adam-esque.
Something at least interesting. And I think I actually found it. I think this movie did intend to have the elk represent something. I couldn't decide if it was supposed to represent Robert De Niro's father watching out from heaven, or if the elk represented God. Now, let me back myself up real quick. So the movie starts with him not going to church on the day. Instead, going out and looking at the 2 elk, and it's very beautiful, blah, 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 blah. We then see the elk again when they go on their first like hunting trip, and he decides not to shoot them because it's like the whole thing. Can't take the life of the elk. Then you see the elk again when he's building the bow in the thing, and he looks at the elk and he remembers, oh, I don't want to kill this guy. It's this whole thing. I had to kill that one elk that one time, and it was bad.
Scarred me.
Yeah. And then we see the elk. Oh, the elk on the Jägermeister of the thing. The elk literally
shit.
with the
He
cross
sees-
above it.
Yeah, he looks at the Jägermeister and there's an elk staring at him with a cross
with
above
the
it.
cross. And it's exactly the same like composition as
Am I
the
about to put very movie music under this?
yeah, it's the same composition of the Jägermeister
church music.
elk with the cross as the invitation to the baptism is like his like nephew or whatever, his grandson. Travolta calls him his nephew twice. He's like, you want to go to your nephew's, and I was like, okay. Anyway, that's sidetracked.
Yeah.
But yeah, it has a cross above it, so I'm like, there's symbolism there. Then you go to the church and there's something elky there. I don't know. But the final frame of the movie, Robert De Niro goes to his son's house. They close. The knockers on the door are elk antlers.
Oh, shit.
And I was like, all right, there it is. Brought them together. So there you go. There's my theory. There's my theory.
That all is great.
I'm like, I think that I'm like the final frame being
wonderful.
antlers. I was like,
Do you really?
Yo, that's pretty
Do you really
slick.
want to give the creators of this movie that much credit?
Mark Steven Johnson very clearly intended for that elk to be something.
That was.
I didn't even notice the elk antlers at the end.
Yes, the door knockers. That is the final frame of the film.
The elk represents his connection to God.
Yes, it
Through
represents
God being nature.
Yes, it is God in the big sense.
Mm-hmm.
It is his connection
cosmic
to God. Yes, there you go.
There are two types of the force. There's the cosmic force and then the living force. I don't know, whatever.
So there you go.
Tree.
Tree.
I have no tree. I am an ant.
Oh, great. Any final thoughts?
Brian,
Yeah.
I just my brain just broke. I had something to say to you, and then my brain just stopped. Like the gear stopped mid through turn. Stuart, what are your final thoughts on Killing Season?
It killed it. That being bad.
They killed it.
It's a movie.
I'll not watch it next season. Oh,
That's true.
Well, when we do the De Niro cast,
I did see
which would be Robert De Podcast.
Robert De Niro did pee on his own leg for this film.
He did.
It was pretty solid.
This bozo.
There was bloody urine draining off of Robert De Niro's leg for this film.
I think it was just an SFX guy with a bottle. Just
Come on.
Robert De Niro's a pro.
Where's your fun?
He committed.
He did.
he drank like 7 Red Bulls that morning. It's like,
All right, I'm ready to go. Let's get this shot up. Let's go.
he's like, all right, cut. He's still peeing. He's like, roll the cameras. I'm still going.
Yeah, this is
Smaller stream, Robert.
this is a strange movie, especially a strange one to cover in light of current events.
Yeah.
Yes.
In which it's kind of trying to deal with America's culpability of war crimes
Yes.
in attempting to stop war crimes. And and me saying that is about as much effort as the movie puts into trying to be about that.
Yeah, I was really trying during the third act, like, to figure out what the movie's final point was.
Yeah, it doesn't have one.
And I was like, I don't even know if we're like anti-war crime.
They become friends at the end. It's like, you did some war crimes, you can go home.
We did some war crimes. I did some war crimes.
It is not.
We slugged it out on each other.
An anti-war film, which is
no.
unfortunate.
I mean, what's the saying is that there's never been an effective anti-war film because war is inherently cinematic.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't remember who said that.
I don't
Someone
know.
said
I
someone who was smarter than me.
yeah.
But yeah,
Jeff, final thoughts?
those are my final thoughts. Is that it's for Travolta. Like, we're at the point where, like, when it comes to like trying to chart what does this do to his career, it doesn't do anything. It's another direct-to-video action movie.
I can't wait for us to cover The People versus OJ.
Well, we aren't.
I know. I know. I just felt like saying
Maybe
that.
we will. Who knows? Remember in the first episode we said maybe we'll cover that. We'll decide on the day. Maybe we'll decide on the day.
Okay.
The option's still there.
I feel like, have you seen it?
No.
You should watch it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if we're not covering it, part of your personality, Jeff, is that you have a John Travolta podcast.
Yeah.
So I feel like
part of yours as well.
Well, yeah. But
So you can't like walk back and be like, well, yeah, I'm not. I only kind of do. No, you've been on every episode, buddy.
But I feel like you should at
Stuart,
least show the
Can you
respect.
think about when we're done with this show, you and I will probably be among the only 100 people in the world who've seen every single John Travolta movie.
Oh, you might be the only two. That's a lot of movies.
At the very least, John Travolta is also on this
That's
list.
true. That's true.
You think he's watched all his movies?
Probably. He goes to premieres.
I mean, all the direct-to-home video ones?
He seems like the kind of
he
guy
saw
who'd be
both.
like, I had such a good time making this. I just think it's fantastic.
It was so fantastic
Yeah.
making this movie. Dad, that was like 2013. You can drop the accent.
No, those are my final thoughts.
All right.
Is that
Right.
it doesn't do anything for us to create another action movie.
Well,
Brian, any final thoughts from you? I think we already just
Oh
did
no,
that.
yeah. My final thoughts were this was really fun.
Yeah, you had
I would not have watched this movie if I did not have to. I would not have finished this movie if I did not have to.
It is the assignment.
It was an assignment.
There are some movies
Yeah.
where Stuart just texts me. He's like, I cannot believe I have to watch this movie right now.
I was sitting. My friend Kaylee was sitting on the couch next to me. She was not watching the movie, but she was present. And I don't know. One of the Uno reverse cards happened, and she like looks up, takes her headphones off, and she's like, "Brian, why are you watching this? This is not a good movie." And I was like, "I have to. You don't understand. I'm taking notes. Look."
oh my gosh. It never
so
ends.
funny.
It never ends.
It'll end, and then
All right.
we'll jump right back into it.
Yeah.
But Brian, I'm sure we'll see you again.
Yes.
Oh yeah,
Another
I wanna be back. This
You'll
was
be
so
back.
fun. This was really.
You'll be
cool.
back. At least
He's
for-
got to be back.
Yeah,
I've got to be.
You
back.
did not realize, but you signed an invisible contract.
He's got to be back.
I
Got
got
to-
to it.
Got to be back.
Nice.
got to do it.
All right. Well, Brian, thank you so much for coming.
Oh, I
And
thank,
thank you
guys.
so much for the listener at home for listening this week to Travolting.
Yeah.
Make sure to tune in. I am hastily trying to bring up next week's episode to do this.
What's next week's episode?
Please make sure to tune in next week for our episode on The Forger, a movie we've all seen and love.
Yeah.
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 Please remember to rate, review, subscribe, whatever platform you're listening on. As a reminder, we are available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and YouTube. You can find us at TravoltingPod on Twitter or Instagram. Top into our Reddit, r/Travolting. You can email us any comments or questions, TravoltingPodcast@gmail.com. Find me on Twitter at JeffW Sweeney. Find Stuart on Instagram at Stuart Elmore to find it. Brian, anything you want to plug?
Yeah, you can go to my Instagram. It's Delisi08.
I wanted to see how fast
BTS.
I could do this. And as always, special thanks to Michael Wimbledon Smith for the theme music and Rebecca Johnson for the graphic design that's taking you out right now. Have a great week, folks. See you next week.
What about the legs? They don't need those. Oh, they look so tasty.